So in the moment, thinking to myself, Flyers, they're awful. Not
Yeah.
once did I think John Tortorella will not be back behind the bench even for next season. I thought they were just going to kind of get through the rest of the season, and then that was it. So, in case you missed it, and we haven't kind of said it like out loud, the Philadelphia Flyers fired John Tortorella on Thursday, which would have been 2 days after their second consecutive 7 goals against performance. So
Performance.
they
Yeah.
lost 7-2 against the Leafs on Tuesday. I believe it was Sunday. They also lost 7-2 or 7-1. I wouldn't be able to tell you who they played on Sunday. But yeah, like dude, watching that Flyers team, they are they are bad. Like there's no other way to put it
Yeah.
other than they are like that is a team that is really really going through it. And it's very surprising to me as well, like for a team with some of the players that they have. Like I know they sold at the deadline. I know they traded Scott Lawton to the Leafs, and I had a little bit of money on him scoring, and I wanted to will it so bad,
Hey,
but it's
don't feel
okay.
bad because I also had a day this week where I did the same thing. Or actually, no, you know what? It would have been last weekend, and it did not go so well either. But yeah,
Yeah, they look like a team that is like absolutely shell shocked. So they fired Torts on Thursday. They played that evening against the Montreal Canadiens. They won 6-4. That was their first regulation win since February 25th. It was March 26th that
yeah,
day.
full month.
So, yeah, like quite literally a full month without a regulation win.
Yeah.
Had only won one game in their last 12 before that, like during the John Tortorella stretch. I'm like, how surprised were you? How yeah, okay, well, I have so many
I
questions.
think that's a good place to. I think that's a good place to start, though. It's just like the shock factor, right?
Yeah,
The shock value of seeing
that
that.
was first thing in the morning, like as we woke up.
It was, yeah, it was like 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock ish. Yeah. So honestly, I was very surprised. I This one did catch me by surprise, and then you look in hindsight at that game, and it's like you're saying, like there's 7-2 blowouts happen for honestly almost every team in the league. Even the good
Hmm.
teams at some point might put up might get a 7 spot put up on them. Okay, it happens. But in hindsight, it's like you're saying that was a dog effort for the Flyers, and I think a lot of people would maybe label it as the effort to try and get your coach fired. Like it's one of those like where it's like these guys are playing to get their coach fired, and you look back at that performance, and it is kind of what it looks like. That is with the knowledge of knowing that Torts got fired after. But yeah, the shock factor was huge for me because I would honestly say if I'm just trying to summarize Torts' time with the Flyers, and let's even go back to the beginning, I think I'm still more shocked that he got let go than the shock when he got hired because I actually thought the fit was really good. I think a lot of people maybe thought the fit was good, at least just the franchise and the personality of Tortorella. Now, there's an argument and a conversation to be had that Torts has never really worked with a team that bad from the get go, right? Like this was not him joining like the Rangers, the Canucks, his past teams, right? Where he got them to the playoffs. I think this is the first time that he was on track to not make the playoffs in a 3 year span, right?
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you that there. Um, and I honestly maybe I kind of think he did the best he could with what he was working with. I commend him for taking on that job and trying something different in terms of like we said, a rebuilding team. Now, it's understandable why I think this happened because if you look at last year, they were on the fringe of the playoff races, right? Like there was a point in time where I think they were
They
occupying a
were.
playoff spot. Maybe even the year before, same thing.
They
And
were
we kind of
in
see it went backward this year.
they were in a divisional spot for a good chunk of last year. They were in like that 3 area, like 3 just hovering above the wild card. And then they imploded. And it honestly was probably around like the All-Star. time, like the pre-All-Star game time, is when they started
Yeah.
imploding, and they were in a tailspin for the second half of the season that they could never get a hold of, and they narrowly made it into that final playoff spot that was then occupied by the Washington Capitals, because it kind of seemed like every Eastern playoff team, playoff potential team, just didn't. Nobody wanted that second wild card spot.
It was a race to the bottom.
It
Yeah.
really
It was.
was.
It was a hot potato. Who wants it? Because nobody does. You're right. Yeah. I Okay. I said like looking back, it looks like trying to get your coach fired performance. And afterwards though, Tortorella's comments, right?
Yeah.
Let's maybe get into that.
Well, I think this is a big reason why it it came by so quick, because like normally coaches that are on the firing line at least make it to the end of the season. Like for me, I would expect we're gonna see guys like if I'm gonna just off the top of my head, a guy like Lindy Ruff is probably on gonna be on the firing line at the end of this season. Maybe like a Greg Cronin as well. Both of them just have miserable tenures with the teams that they're on, but they're at least going to get the benefit of making it to the end of the season. But neither of them have come out and said what John Tortorella said after losing to the Leafs on Tuesday. And he said, and I quote, "I'm not really interested in learning how to coach this type of season. We're at where we're at right. Sorry, we're to coach in this type of season where we're at right now." Um, it's tough. It really is. Like you said, John Tortorella hasn't even been a part of a team, if I'm not mistaken, that has missed the playoffs in 3 consecutive seasons. Like every
Yeah.
team that he leaves with a winning record at the end of his tenure. Like he's never left a team with a losing record yet until now. The guy's in his late 60s. He's almost 70. Which really surprised me until you think like the guy won a cup in 2004 with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like that's over 20
It's
years
21
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So
100%.
he's not a spry young dog, and yeah, I will give him the all the kudos in the world for taking on what we knew at the time to be like a bit of a long term um,
Yeah.
project.
Like, how would you? This goes to your point here. Give me one word to describe John Tortorella's personality. Like, what is one word? One of the
Combative.
first words. Oh, that's a good one. That's a very good one. I, I'm
Can I say another one that
definitely.
is NSFW?
Yeah.
I can't.
You,
Don't know if I can say
oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, he's an asshole. Like I don't think that's
Sure.
unfair.
Okay.
He'll call
Well,
himself an
I
asshole.
think, I honestly think you're right. I've got stubborn on my
Yeah,
mind. Okay,
that's another one.
stubborn, and I think his choice to go to the Flyers was one of the least stubborn things he's done because, like we're saying, a different scenario for once, a new type of challenge for Torts. I think he took it on admirably, but I wanted to get to the quote there because I wanted to contrast the effort to get your coach fired type of game that they played with that quote because I don't really think they go hand in hand. Like I think they actually do go hand in hand. It's like you have one party, the players who are like, "We're done with you, bud." Then you have the other party, the coach, who's kind of also saying, "I'm done here too." And I bring that up because I think the first reports that we got was that this was a um, towards stepping down situation,
Yeah.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
then if you read the Flyers statement, Danny Briere's statement, it says that he makes the tough decision to relieve John Tortorella of his duties. So I don't know why they didn't just come out from the beginning. And to me, this should have just been like a mutually agreed to part ways type of scenario. I don't know why it just wasn't framed as such. Even the tort stepping down, I think, would have been maybe a little bit of a nicer look. But I don't know. I feel like we've seen different kind of framings of the situation. Um, I don't know. I thought that was interesting to me. I'm not really sure which is the truth. Maybe we'll never get the truth. What
To
is the truth right now? Yeah,
I
you
don't
got
know.
something down.
No, I was just gonna say to the point on Danny Briere, he came out and said during the press conference. He's like, "You're going to ask me, is there one thing that happened?" He's like, "No, it's not one thing. It's a series of things that have happened, and probably a little bit more in the past 3 weeks that has escalated since probably around the trade deadline right after that." So, like I said, it's not one thing specific. It's an accumulation of things that have happened probably more often lately. And that kind of falls in line with the timeline of losing as well. Like February
Yeah.
25th it was the week before the trade deadline. That was their last regulation win. They sell off some key pieces, including like Scott Lawton, who's a veteran on that team, and they're
By
in free
all
fall.
basically called like one of the most important personalities of the dressing room, right? Like
Yeah,
from a leadership standpoint, all that. So like that could have even maybe played a role, right? It
yeah,
could have.
100%.
Once you eliminate like one of those branches between management and the players in the room, right? That makes the bridge a bit weaker. Um, last thing here, I think, and it actually goes once again hand in hand with that statement that you read from Briere at the press conference. What he's basically saying there about no, this wasn't a single thing. Well, we have a report from Kevin Kurz of the Athletic, Phillies beat writer, and this is what he came on Twitter to say. Told from a team source that it's fair to say, quote unquote, fair to say, something happened between Cam York and John Tortorella in Toronto that contributed to the coach's dismissal on Thursday morning. Was put to me that, quote unquote, they probably both crossed the line.
Yeah.
So let's put that together with the Briere statement. I think the two can be true. I think at first you read them and you're like, wait, Kurz is saying it was a singular thing that led to Torts' firing. And Briere is saying that's not the case. I think if you read Kevin Kurz's report here again, it's that it contributed to the coach's dismissal. So maybe this was one event in a not a long line, but the line of the past 3 weeks here. And we have the evidence. The reason this kind of got questioned is because Cam York played, I think it was like 3.5 minutes against Toronto,
Yeah, it was.
maybe a little bit more, but then he played like 3.5, or I think he
I
sat on
don't
the
think
bench the
I.
entire game in Montreal,
He
right?
was. He
Yeah,
was. He had 0 minutes of ice
yeah.
time
Okay.
against the Habs.